Hello, this is Joe Trahan, welcoming you to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooten Foundation, whose mission is to enlighten the world to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances. As the national leader on this subject, they communicate their educational messages through various methods, including this podcast. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi, and welcome to the All Me podcast. My name is Tavis Piatoli, sports dietitian with the Taylor Hooten Foundation, and today I'm going to be your host. Have you ever dreamed of being on an Olympic team? I know I have, and I've always loved watching the Olympics each year, cheering on my country just like millions of others. At the same time, have you ever thought how cool would it be to not only be on an Olympic team, but also work in the profession you love? My guest today is Haylie McCleney, a certified strength and conditioning coach, as well as a team member of USA Softball. In this podcast, Haylie and I talk about her amazing collegiate softball career, her path to making the Team USA softball squad, her occupation as a strength and conditioning specialist, and life after softball. Haylie's a professional softball player from Morris, Alabama, and she was recently named to the Tokyo 2020 Olympic roster, where she will compete and represent Team USA in the 2021 Olympic Games. She played 4 years at the University of Alabama, where she was named an All-American all 4 times and a finalist for Collegiate Player of the Year 3 times. She's been selected to the United States national team for the past 7 years, where she's won gold medals in the World Championships, the Pan American Games, and the World Cup. She's also a standout in the classroom, gaining academic All-American honors before graduating Summa Cum Laude with a bachelor's degree in human performance and exercise science. Upon graduating from Alabama in 2016, Haylie completed a master's degree in exercise physiology from Florida Atlantic University. She has a passion for being in the weight room and making athletes better both on the field and off the field. She is a member of the National Strength and Conditioning Association and is a certified strength and conditioning specialist. We'd also like to thank our partners at Gatorade for sponsoring this podcast. Haylie, welcome to the All Me podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Honored to have you here today. We're going to talk about a lot of things related to your career path. We'll also kind of dive into some nutrition, but kind of as we get started, we know you've had an amazing career. I want to kind of learn a little bit more. I want our listeners to learn a little bit more about your really career path, specifically when it comes to softball. So where did you develop that love for softball? When did that start?
Yeah. I grew up in a really small town in Alabama, and my dad was a high school baseball and football coach, and I'm the oldest of 3. So when my dad got his first coaching job and they had me, my dad was 23, 24 years old, so relatively young. And after his practices at the high school every day, he would come home and we would just play in the backyard together. From the moment I was born, I wanted to be outside. My mom would be outside with me during the day when she got home from work, and then dad would be outside with me at night and almost every weekend. And I grew up going to all of his games, watching him coach. So I was always around the game, and I knew from a very early age that I wanted to play it. So it definitely started in the backyard with my parents. And then once my little brothers came along, we were just the best of teammates all the way through all 3 of our childhoods. Walker is 3.5 years younger than me, and Garrison is 7 years younger than me. So I always had a couple of brothers to pick on, but also to play with. That made me better. So
I'm excited because my daughter just turned 10 last Friday, and she's starting softball next week. So, she's been in volleyball. She's been really going to move to softball. I'm going to be one of the coaches on the team. So I hope to get that same experience of coaching her and watching her progress this. And I guess the next kind of question I want to kind of dive into, because, you love softball so much, but at some point, you start at a young age and then you realize, all right, I'm probably pretty good, right? Maybe I have a chance to kind of get to that next level and maybe do this for a living. At what point did you realize, all right, maybe I have a chance to be a collegiate softball player?
In college, it's probably for college, I would say probably right around 8th grade or so. Now this was back in the days of early recruiting, which it's not this way anymore, but I was just starting to get interest from a few colleges, and I wasn't really focused on getting to the next level. That's never really been my MO. Like, I never had this dream of playing in the Olympics or really playing in college. I knew I wanted to go to college and be an athlete. Basketball was always my first love when I was younger. And then I know you can't really see me right now, but I'm only 5'4". So the basketball dream quickly died out.
Point guard.
Yeah, point guard. Absolutely a point guard. Yeah. and a very feisty one at that. But softball for me was just kind of something that I did because I had fun with my teammates, and I knew I wanted to get better at it every day, because how I do anything is how I do everything. So if I'm going to play something, I'm going to compete to the fullest extent, and I'm going to be the best that I can be at whatever that is. That could be softball, basketball, checkers, going to the grocery store, like you name it. I want to be the best at it. So my focus was really just on getting better every single day and seeing where that path kind of took me. And that's when the opportunity started to open up for me. It's not that I had this elaborate plan of, I want to go play here, here, and here. These are my long-term goals. I never had that. It was, this is what I am getting better at now, and let's see how good I can be at it. And that's how, Alabama opened up. That's how making the Olympic roster opened up as well. It's just getting a little bit better every single day.
Yeah, and really do I see athletes that at least don't envision that. They're just like, hey, if it happens, it happens. I'm just going to work hard and get to that next level. And then you accomplish something that very few people probably accomplished in any sport. You were a 4-time All-American at the collegiate level. How do you feel about that? Like, was that something that you just, it may have not been a goal. It just kind of happened based on production?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a goal. Like I said, I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be. I knew that even after I was named an All-American my freshman year, I was like, there are so many things in my game that I could get better at. Same thing after sophomore, junior, and even senior year of college. I'm like, there's still so much more that I could add to my game. I still feel that way now about being on the Olympic roster. I can be so much better. That's the beautiful thing about our sport, right? Is that there's no such thing as perfect in our game. Pitchers give up hits, hitters get out. And so you just have to do your best to minimize those failures. And that's an ever evolving process. You can't be perfect at it, and there's always room to improve. So that's kind of the mindset you have to have every single day.
Yeah, it's really interesting there. Striving for perfection in really anything in form of life is going to be impossible. But, in the field I'm in with nutrition and diet, a lot of people strive for perfection. They want to be perfect. And you're like, you just can't. Like you said, you just can't be perfect pretty much at anything. There's going to be something where we fail. And sometimes failing is really good to help that person learn. I'm trying to teach my little one that, hey, it's okay to lose. You're going to lose some games over time, and we got to grow from it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that was really impressive to me when I was looking at your bio, I was like, wow, this really stands out the most. You were a 3-time academic All-American. And I know trying to balance school in sports in college has to be a difficult thing. How challenging was it to maintain that high GPA while in college?
Honestly, it wasn't that difficult for me. I think you're better at things that you love doing. And so for me, learning and school always came relatively easy in terms of, like, I never dreaded it. Like, I wanted to be in class. I wanted to learn something new every day. Like I said, no matter what I do, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be the best that I can be at it. And that obviously included academics for, the entire time that I was doing my undergrad, and even into my graduate work when I got my master's degree at Florida Atlantic. I want to dive in. I want to learn as much as I possibly can. And also the field that I'm in too, human performance, exercise science, kinesiology, physiology, all of that stuff helps me be a better softball player. So that's also kind of how I approached it, of like, I'm learning all of this really amazing stuff. I'm super intrigued by it, but it's also helping me be better on the field. And so it was easy for me to do extra homework. It was easy for me to read extra outside of class. Like, that's what I decided to fill my time with, rather than, I'm not saying I didn't have a social life or anything like that, but I just was very particular about how I spent my time, and I didn't want to be distracted. I only got 4 years, to make the most out of, the student athlete life, and ended up getting an extra 2 out of it a little bit with the national team and going after my master's degree. But yeah, and that's the thing too, with a lot of female athletes, I think you'll find, is we know that the professional opportunities are very limited in our game. And a lot of us we dream of it, think it would be cool for a couple of years, but usually it dies out pretty quick, just because you can't really make a substantial living off of it at this point. There are a few opportunities overseas, and, the domestic games here in the US are getting a little bit better, but for the most part, we rely on our academics to, give us jobs in the future and make us money. So you have to take that kind of stuff seriously. And that's exactly what I did.
Absolutely. Yeah. We know your contracts are nothing like Major League Baseball, right? It's a little insane when I look at some of these numbers. And I'm like, $40 million a year. And it's like, wow, that's That's more than what people will ever see in their entire lifetime. And you're getting that in a year, which great. I mean, if you can get that, there's no reason to, I'm not going to complain about it. But when I go back to your academics, what are some tips you would give some young athletes, especially young female athletes, when it comes to really putting grades first? Because you have to perform well in the classroom in order to be allowed to perform on the field. So any tips on really how to stay focused in the classroom while performing as well?
You just have to, I think it comes down to a priority. What is your priority? Where do you want to be? Do you, if you really want to be a college athlete, then your talent alone is not going to get you there. It's definitely going to take the academic piece and the character piece. Coach Murphy always said this at Alabama is, we character over talent, and we'll take character over talent any day of the week. And that's why that program has continually sustained a culture that is unlike any other program in the country. And so when you're talking about that character piece, I'm not saying that you have to, be this genius and make perfect grades. The character piece is about putting in the work. Are you doing all of your assignments? Are you putting in the effort to, be the smartest version of yourself that you can be? Because that directly translates to how you're going to approach softball when you get to the next level. If you can't put in the work academically, your coach is going to think that you can't put in the work athletically. So it comes down to character. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And just prioritizing, like, I'm focused. This is my goal. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. And then taking little action steps every day to get there. I don't think it's necessarily about, forming like all of these different goals and habits and things. It's just ask yourself, who do you want to be? And your actions will follow based on your answer to that question.
Yeah, you said character. That's just a big thing that I know a lot of coaches are looking for when they're recruiting athletes. They probably look at a lot of things like social media to see, hey, what type of character is this person? And, those are things that I've heard coaches say in the recruiting process. We're looking at other things besides our meetings with these athletes and other things. So it's interesting you say that. You're a 7-time member of Team USA. What has that experience been like for you throughout this process?
It's cool. It's been a beautiful struggle. And I say that because, when I got on the team in 2014, we weren't in the Olympics. We knew we weren't going to be in the 2016 games in Rio. So we have a special, I think, culture within softball, especially at the international level, of we're solely playing this sport, not to win an Olympic medal, but to simply like play for the pride of wearing USA across your chest. It's a pretty spectacular thing. And so being on the team those few years, just grinding it out, playing for a world championship medal in 2014, winning a Pan American gold in 2015. We found out in around 2016 that there was a possibility that softball could be back. And so we, I think, all upped our game a little bit, and I think it became a lot more special to us at that point. And then watching it get in 2017 was unlike any other experience really that I've ever had playing softball, because I started to get recruited right around 8th, 9th grade. And that was the year that softball was last played in the Olympics, 2008. And so you have this just weird full circle moment of my dream was taken away from me. Like the Olympic dream was taken away from me at this young age. My goal then became, okay, I'll just go to college and play, and then I'll be done after that. I get on the national team in 2014. I love it. And then seeing it get back into the Olympics after it had all just been taken away right as I began my next step of my softball career. I really can't put into words like how cool that was. Just to see it get back in and to be a part of that all the way through is spectacular. And then obviously to be on the Olympic roster is something I never even dreamed. I knew it was a possibility when I was younger, but never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would be here. So it's really cool. It's really awesome. And I don't have any plans to give it up anytime soon. The Olympics is not my last go around. So I'm going to keep playing the sport as long as I can and continue to grow the game all over the world, because that's what international softball is about.
Yeah. And what an honor. It's an incredible honor to represent your own country. And I'm looking forward to watching the summer games this year. I know we didn't have them last year. And when we look at the competition, like how would you rate the competition compared to playing collegiate softball when you're playing against some of the best players from other countries? Is it the same? Is it significantly different than college?
I would say it is like a minor league jump to a major league jump. I would compare college to the minor leagues, and I would compare international softball to the major leagues. You're dealing with true professionals. So you're throwing the academic side out of it. You're throwing all of those obligations out of it. And our jobs are to compete and to be the best that we possibly can be at this game. And I'm not saying that college athletes don't do that. There is just, other directions that you have to prioritize your time with, like the academic aspect of it as well. And so, the beautiful thing I think about all sports in general is like the best players in the world keep getting better year after year after year. You've seen college softball take off year after year after year. All of these players continue to put in the work. They continue to get better. And especially after college, when you have all of the time in the world to devote to your sport and to getting better, and that is your number one priority, it makes for incredible competition around the world. And you also have to add in the culture piece as well. College softball, everyone plays pretty much this similar same style.
Right.
The American style is not necessarily how the Italian national team will play. It's not necessarily how the Japanese national team will play, or Australia, or, things of that nature. Mexico and Canada are obviously a little bit more similar to us, but there are just all of these different factors that you kind of have to worry about. And you're dealing with true professionals, like women into their, mid and upper 30s that are still improving, which is absolutely crazy. And so it's your responsibility to take on that same level of professionalism as well. So yeah, it's minor league to major league. That's the easiest kind of analogy I can think of for it.
Since the games were canceled last year in 2020, how did that impact y'all's training schedule? Did y'all get a bigger break, or, before resuming activities, how did that work?
Yeah, so we actually we were on tour when the pandemic hit. So we were actually scheduled to play a game against the University of Washington in Seattle the day after I think the NBA suspended all of their games, and kind of like the world stopped that day. So I remember we had just got back from practice. NBA news broke, all of that stuff shut down. We had a team meeting at like 5:00 that night, and we were all on red-eye flights home. Like, it happened that quickly. And we had no idea whether or not the Olympics would even happen at this point. Like, everything was just up in the air. So there was a lot of downtime between, the Olympic announcement coming through that they were just going to be delayed or postponed until 2021. And then it became, well, what is going on in the United States? What do the COVID numbers look like? Can we even get together? Can we do any of this? And so things were put on hold for a long time through December of 2020. We finally were able to get back on the field together in January, and it was like 300 days since we had last been together. Wow. Which is absolutely insane. So we had a lot of time on our own, but we did a great job of staying connected as a team. We had players only Zoom meetings, and we had team meetings, just to stay in touch with each other and hold each other accountable, of what are you doing? Are you staying on top of, your fitness, your nutrition, your skill sets, and things of that nature, and really just getting to know each other. I think that's been the biggest blessing in disguise with the pandemic, is we were able to really truly be a team throughout this whole process, because our roster had already been named, which is an advantage that no other country had. So we were able to, really, really kind of dive into each other's personalities. We had TED Talk Tuesdays, we called them, where every person on the roster would share something that they're super passionate about outside of softball. So we had people talking about things like, I talked about my strength and conditioning stuff. We had people talking about nutrition. We had people talking about self-care and meditation. We had one session where we baked cookies because someone loved to bake cookies. I mean, that's stuff that we never would have known had, the pandemic not hit. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, and we're a lot better now for it. That's for sure.
I was gonna say, what's the mood of the team like now? Like, how are you guys feeling about the 2021 Olympics? What's your training schedule look like on the day-to-day?
We're excited. We're on a schedule right now that's kind of 2 weeks together, 2 weeks apart. And through that 2 weeks when we're all together, we're obviously following, all of the necessary COVID protocols and things. And it's a little bit different than some of the stuff that we're used to. We're not used to playing softball in masks and getting our nose swabbed every 2 days and, all of that stuff. But I think we're a lot more accountable to each other at this point now. We're a lot more excited now because it's actually happening. I think for a while, there was just a lot of doubt on, like, is it actually going to happen? Are they going to hold on to this? And the International Olympic Committee has been great in terms of just, really making it a priority to make these games happen, which I know our sport especially is incredibly grateful for because we're not in 2024. So it's cool. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. When we're together, we're competing as much as we can scrimmage wise and, getting in exhibition games with local colleges. And that's been great. And then, when we're on our own, it's, managing stuff at the house, real life stuff, a few meetings here and there, but for the most part, it's training on your own, getting up, getting your morning workouts in, getting your conditioning sessions in, and your specific skill work that you need to do.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. I know I'm a Summer Olympic person more than a Winter Olympic person, just because I like the sports a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to really resuming that, and hopefully everything happens as planned. Now, yeah. I've been around baseball a long time, just with athletes played the game, but understanding in a lot of, especially baseball is a sport with superstitions. At least some athletes have some crazy superstitions I've seen. Do you have any superstitions when it comes to game time rituals, activities, anything you do that is pretty much consistent just to get you ready?
I don't necessarily have a superstition or a ritual. I'm pretty low key when it comes to that kind of stuff. I will tell you, I love to have a banana and peanut butter as a pregame snack. Like that gets me in the right mindset for whatever reason. But also too, one of the things that I've started doing, and it's really just become part of my routine. I'm very routine oriented. I like to wake up early. I like to stretch in the morning on a game day, really just get my body moving and get my mind kind of in the right place. But one thing I've started to do is on the bus or the car ride over and whatever time beforehand, it's usually about 60 minutes prior to when I have to be at the field to warm up and play. I shut my phone completely off. I don't check social media. I don't check texts, no phone calls, no emails, like nothing like that. And that's really helped me kind of transition from and compartmentalize really what's going on off the field versus how focused can I be when I step on the field. And having that cell phone free time has really allowed me to truly be present. And playing the game more focused is a lot more fun because I'm only worried about what's in front of me. And that's been super helpful for me. So yeah, banana and peanut butter and get rid of your phone. You don't need it as much as you think you do.
Yeah, it's a big distraction. I've seen in a lot of people today, adults, you go out to dinner and watch, and, my wife and daughter and I were kind of sitting around just looking, going, look at everybody staring at the phone. There's no conversation happening, and that's just not good. And so maybe they need more banana and peanut butter, because you can't go wrong with banana and peanut butter. So which leads to my next subject is really moving into the training nutrition piece. How important is, that component of self-care, nutrition, diet, training to compete at this level? How much do you invest in taking care of your body?
It's critical. As athletes, we're only as good as our availability, right? And so I'm no good to the national team if I'm injured all the time and can't play because I didn't take care of my body. So I think the training aspect of softball as a sport has gotten a lot better in terms of women wanting to be strong and wanting to lift weights and, wanting to take their game to the next level by incorporating things like maximal strength level training, as well as a lot more plyometric based training, power based training, things like that. A lot more women have started to take it seriously, which is amazing. It's great for our sport. The nutrition piece, I think, still with baseball and softball is like that one edge. Like if you're looking for an edge and you're a young athlete, it's in your nutrition. Like what are you putting in your body? I don't think we realize how much of a difference it makes, how much lighter we feel, how much more focused we feel. We're able to just perform at such a higher level for that. And that's something I've realized, the past few years of me getting pretty serious about my nutrition. Obviously not perfect, and I'll still have a cheeseburger when I go out to eat if I want to. And I love a good Diet Coke every now and then. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, but I'm just eating more mindful and making sure I'm getting, nutrient dense whole foods. Like eat your vegetables. Like I used to hate my mom for telling me that over and over and over again, but like it's so true. You feel so much better. You play so much better when you feel that way. And that's been the missing link for me for sure. And it's really helped elevate my game to a whole new level. And I'm able to recover in between games more as well.
Yeah, as a sports dietitian, I understand that. And that's why you kind of answered my next question, was just how important nutrition is. And you pretty much said all the key words. I use missing link a lot. That is, it's that missing piece of the puzzle that athletes don't typically, they wait until the last last couple of years of their career, or not really career, but just it's like too late almost. It's like, oh wait, I got to change my diet now. Like that's important. Where really it's the catalyst. It's why places like Alabama and LSU and Texas and all your big universities have invested millions and millions of dollars in nutrition centers. At Alabama, you probably worked with my friend and colleague Amy Bragg.
Yes.
I don't know if she was there. Yeah. So she was there when you were there. And, she's done a phenomenal job of really shaping that program. And a lot of great sports dietitians have brought that to the collegiate ranks, which it's like, all right, we got 7 strength coaches. We got 7 athletic trainers, but who's feeding these guys? And that's important. So I'm glad you really touched on that. When we look at being out of the country, you're going to be in Japan or you're going to be in Tokyo. What are the challenges that you faced in the past, or have there been any challenges when you're eating out of the country and trying to follow a pretty good diet?
Yeah, it's difficult. I will say, in Japan, you can't read the labels. Like I can't read Japanese. So oftentimes, and our national governing body, USA Softball, does a really good job of providing meals for us, relatively as Americanized as they can be. But I will say I do eat a lot more seafood when I'm in Japan. Absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, the sushi is great. But all of their fish is absolutely incredible, and it's all locally sourced as well. So, like they literally grabbed it out of the ocean probably 10 minutes ago, and it's like, it's fresh and it's on your plate. It's beautiful and it tastes great. I definitely think being willing to try different things is a critical piece of that. So a lot of the times, like I'm very routine oriented. I think our sport as a whole is very routine oriented. So we like certain meals on certain days at certain times. We get very like in this tunnel vision type of mindset of this is what I have to have. Not necessarily the case. You can get a lot of different stuff done. Be willing to try new things. Don't get stuck on like, I don't like this or I don't like that. Just be willing to try it. You never know. And you can fill kind of a lot of your nutrient dense, food boxes. You can kind of check those off the more willing you are to try new things. And, I always like to be prepared as well. Like if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, that's a problem because it's probably not going to be a good decision that you make. Like if I'm starving at 3 a.m. because I forgot to eat dinner or whatever, like I'm obviously going to go to McDonald's and get something. Right.
Right.
So being mindful of like, this is what I'm going to wake up and have for breakfast. I want to get this for lunch. I want to get this for dinner. Thinking ahead and planning ahead in that way is a critical piece of that as well, especially overseas.
Yeah, that's got to be a challenge. And like the last thing you want to do is eat something that might cause you to get sick or have food poisoning or just something your body's not used to. Do you have any teammates that are just like really strict with their diet, that they probably go a little overboard and they don't deviate at all? Like, wow, that person's really, really committed.
No, honestly, we don't have anyone that is like super like all the way into it. I would say the most into it is probably Amanda Chittister, a catcher and really, really a phenomenal hitter for us. She's like the work that she has put in since she graduated college, graduated from Michigan. And since she graduated college, she just got so serious about the strength and conditioning aspect as well as her nutrition. Very serious about nutrition. And even still too, it's almost like we're all very good, I think, at like the 90%, 10% rule, where 90% of our meals are like super nutrient dense. And then if we have a long week of practice and we have an off day the next day, like you will all find us at the ice cream shop, like getting a pint of ice cream. So, and you give yourself grace in that moment because you're taking care of your body, but you also want to, not be too strict and still enjoy the moments that you have, You
got to have that balance. And I think that's where people struggle today in anything, whether they're trying to lose weight or gain weight or whatever, is it's an all or none approach for too many people where they just think they got to give everything up or they label it good or bad. And if they have ice cream, they feel guilty and think, oh, I've messed everything up and I can't keep moving forward. So I love that approach with you guys and got to have that balanced approach. That's extremely intelligent.
Absolutely.
Now, strength and conditioning. I was really fascinated because my master's is in kinesiology as well. And I love the fact that, you're a certified strength and conditioning specialist for the last 7 years. What made you choose to pursue that career?
For me, I knew that it was the biggest contributing factor to my success on the field. When I was growing up, I was always the smallest kid on my team. Like I said, I'm only 5'4", and I weighed 115 pounds when I got to Alabama when I stepped on campus. I lifted weights relatively seriously in high school, but I was running cross country and playing basketball, so my energy expenditure was there was no way that I could gain weight. There was like no possible way I was going to put anything on. So to be honest, lifting weights in high school really helped keep me injury free on top of playing multiple sports. I firmly believe that. And then when I got to Alabama, we have one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the country, Michelle Diltz. And I got there my freshman fall and put on 20 pounds, 15 of which was just pure muscle. And watching my film that year from like when I first got on campus at practice to my spring games, it was a night and day difference for me as a player. I felt stronger. I felt more powerful at the plate. My bat speed was like through the roof. And metrics really weren't like super big back then, but I guarantee you if we would have measured things like exit velocity, launch angles, all of that fun stuff, I guarantee you I would have improved literally night and day. And throughout my career, I was able to consistently improve and get better year to year because of the added training piece component. And so it was just my passion to get that tool and that resource into the hands of kids like me that just needed at a really early age. And I firmly believe that, like, if I didn't take this training piece seriously, I would definitely not be on the Olympic roster. If I wasn't as strong as I was, definitely wouldn't be on the Olympic roster. If I wasn't like a solid 145 pounds right now, wouldn't be on the Olympic roster. And I think being strong is such a cool freaking thing. Like, I don't know why females try to shy away from that. So I just want to get that message into as many girls' hands as possible, because it can really be the difference maker in your career. And there's nothing wrong with being a strong woman. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, I tell people more weights, less cardio, be strong, be lean, and it's almost like a magic, not a magic pill, but a magic combination of when you combine that nutrition and strength and conditioning, like you mentioned, you're like, all these metrics started to drastically change because, in high school, you're doing a lot of sports, you're doing a lot of running and breaking down the muscle tissue with cross country and basketball. And then you're trying to build it back up for softball. So like you said, it's a vicious cycle. I'm losing, I'm gaining, I'm losing. But then when you get to Alabama and you focus, it's like, boom, all those things come into contact. And that's really, really cool to see that combination. In your off time, like when you, let's say pandemic, it obviously that's a little different, but in your off time, are you training other athletes?
Yes. So actually, I am linked up with a good friend of mine. His name's Austin Wasserman. He is a throwing expert, and he has a company called High Level Throwing. And within that component of the throwing piece, there's a huge strength and conditioning piece as well. So we actually have a remote online platform where I am the head strength coach for multiple athletes all over the country, really just giving them individualized strength and conditioning programs. We have 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month training options. Whatever equipment you need, whatever equipment you have that you don't have or don't have, we program to what you have available to you, what your schedule is. We work around your competition schedule, whether that's travel ball, high school ball, whatever. So yeah, we've got 2-day-a-week strength programs, 3-day-a-week strength programs. So I kind of manage that really all the time, not just on my downtime, constantly communicating with those athletes and making sure that they're getting their workouts in, lifting the weights that they should, and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's really exciting, and we get new kids almost every week that sign up for it, and they're taking it seriously. We've got as young as 8-year-olds on the platform, all the way up through some of my national team teammates are on it as well. So we've got 8-year-olds to Olympians. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. We're gonna have your website and those websites in our show notes so our listeners can follow that information. And talking to friends that have those type of facilities, virtual performance training is kind of the new thing, especially with the pandemic. So I think that's fascinating. You can work with these individuals all across the country. Absolutely. It just doesn't have to be one-on-one in person anymore. Do you follow your own workout, or does Team USA have a strength coach that writes and oversees your own strength and conditioning program? How does that work?
Actually, I am the de facto strength coach for the national team, which is kind of cool. I'm a player, and I get a little bit of my strength and conditioning coach itch out.
You don't see that. That's so rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. It's very rare. And another blessing of the pandemic, I guess, with budget cuts and things of that nature, we weren't able to have a professional, another professional that's not a player, travel with us and be with us. COVID protocols were intense, and we just didn't want to bring any extra people. So yeah, the national team's director approached me and asked if I'd be willing to step in and kind of take over and handle it. And obviously the answer was yes. I love doing it. And so I've written my own programs for a while. I take bits and pieces of input from other coaches all over the country of, hey, what exercise do you think could help with this? Like, how will this translate to the field? What sets and rep ranges do you think I should work with here in this specific phase? Yada, yada, all of that fun stuff. But definitely being the strength coach for Team USA is pretty cool. And I'm definitely throwing that on a resume for future reference. Like, hey, I was
just thinking
on the national team and I was also the strength coach for the national team. So
I was just thinking that. I was like, that's a great resume builder right there. It's like, boom. So yeah, you don't see the player coach, that much anymore. I'm like, remember Pete Rose back in the day? He played and coached, obviously, there's been a few of those, but that's interesting to kind of see that. That's awesome. Now, what are your plans after your softball career? Is this where you're moving once you're done? And you're like, right, I know you're doing it now, but is this going to be like that full-time thing where once softball's done, I'm strictly focused on strength and conditioning?
Yeah, that's definitely it for me. I want to stay around sports. I want to do as many sports related things as I can. My world revolves around sports. So as many female athletes as I can help get into, not only, the training aspect of it, but even into the field to be, coaches themselves. That's where my passion is. It's what I'm going to do. And my two brothers are both studying right now to be strength coaches as well. My brother Walker is actually getting ready for his CSCS exam. He just graduated from Alabama with a bachelor's degree in human performance. And my baby brother Garrison is in college now, also studying exercise physiology. So I don't know if a family gym or something is in the future, but I know Walker and Garrison are like, yeah, we'll definitely do it, Haylie, but you have to run everything. So we'll see where that goes. But that would be.
Yeah, I'm thinking a family cool. Strength and conditioning business would be pretty
yeah.
cool. Now, do you have a preference in training certain types of athletes, or do you train pretty much all levels, or do you just focus on softball and baseball?
We have so in our platform right now are our softball and baseball athletes. We have a few tennis athletes as well, and a couple of basketball players that have come on as well to train. I personally don't have a preference. I think all athletes should be lifting weights. Like, it's never going to hurt you to be stronger, faster, and have more muscle. And I was the strength coach at Florida A&M for a couple of years before I had to resign to go on tour with the national team to prep for the Olympics. And I had every sport except for football and basketball. So I was training baseball, softball, men's, women's tennis, golf. I had bowling. The bowling team came and lifted with me. I had volleyball. I mean, I had all sorts of athletes, male and female, coming into the weight room with me. So I love any athlete. Like, I can relate to you. Like, anybody that plays sports, I can relate to you. And like I said, it's not going to hurt you to be bigger, faster, or stronger.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really good to have that career that you have as an athlete that can translate into training others, because they look at that strength coach and go, they understand what I went through. That's the one thing as a sports dietitian, even though I didn't play tennis, I watched enough of it as a kid so I can talk the language, and that builds trust pretty quickly to have an understanding of what that is. As we kind of shift to our last subject, I want to talk about your role with the All Me Advisory Board and really what that means to you. We're really honored to have you on the All Me Advisory Board, but why was it important for you to join our advisory board, and what does that mean to you?
I think it was important for me because I think our values just really aligned, like my values and the Taylor Hooten Foundation's values really just aligned. Getting female athletes to understand that we need to do things the right way. We need to prepare our body the right way. And what does that look like? Not taking any shortcuts, just really diving into your training, your nutrition, and being a female. It was an incredibly high honor as well. And you definitely don't want the female athlete piece of that to be missed. So not only me, but, athletes like AJ Andrews and things we're doing in the softball community, it's very, very important. So yeah, it's an honor for me, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're honored to have you and AJ as part of that. And hopefully we'll get some more ladies on the team, because we want to build that female advisory board. The more we have, the more it helps other young female athletes understand why it's so important to stay clean. And that's kind of my last question as we kind of close out, is for any of the young athletes out there that may have some reservations about their body and may not feel comfortable about their body, what tips would you give them to help them overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think you have to accept the fact that not everybody's body is going to look the same or perform the same. It's about what can my body do, and how can I celebrate what my body can do versus what no one else's can? And how do I take care of that? Again, it's not necessarily like I want to weigh this much or I want to, lift this much weight. It's not about that. It's about who do I want to be? I want to be the hardest worker in the room. I want my character piece to completely outshine the talent piece that I have. I don't want to take any shortcuts. The harder, the better. The harder I work, the better I'm going to be. And so I think you have to have that mindset of this is who I want to be. This is not what I want to do. This is who I want to be. Like when people talk about Haylie McCleney, I want them to say X, Y, and Z. And then once I know what I want my identity to be, my actions are then determined from that. And I think that's the mindset that you have to have with it, and love yourself the entire way, because no one's ever going to question someone that's the hardest worker in the room.
Absolutely. Haylie, thank you so much. Now, incredible information, incredible podcasts. I know our listeners are going to love the feedback. But most importantly, before we go, we have some curveball questions that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you. We like to have a little bit of a curveball around. It's just to kind of mix things up and make it a little fun. I know we talk about some serious stuff. This is going to be a little bit different. So
all right.
3 or 4 questions I'm going to throw at you just to kind of see, what you're thinking on the spot. Let's just think like Jeopardy or final round. But first question, I'm a music junkie. I love music. I play music. So if you could be the lead singer in any band today, or even in the past, who would that band be?
Oh, Spice Girls.
Okay. Interesting.
Sure. I would love that. Yeah. I would love everything about that.
If you had one superpower, what would your superpower be?
Teleportation. I want to go on vacation like a snap, and I don't want to have to fly out a plane.
So that's perfect, because my next question is, what is the one place you visited that you feel everybody should see?
Japan. You got to go see Japan. It's the coolest freaking spot. Tokyo is awesome. Beautiful scenery. Pretty much anything that you want to do. And the people there are so incredibly nice and respectful. So great spot.
You're making this easy, but this last one might be hopefully a little more difficult. Last one. Who is someone that you faced, as a softball player that you say, man, I just hope I never get to face her again?
Jackie Traina. She was my teammate actually for 2 years at Alabama, and then for a little while on the national team. And I hated hitting against her. I was always super thankful to be playing with her. But even now, like all of the pitchers on our staff with the national team are absolutely just insane. I mean, Kat Osterman, Monica Abbott, Rachel Garcia, Ali Carta, Kaylani Ricketts, like those are some of the best people, hands down. Like I'm so thankful that they are on my team, because I do not want to have to hit off them consistently. That's for sure.
Awesome. Haylie, thank you so much. This was awesome. A lot of great information. We hope to have you back in the near future. And as an LSU grad, I'm not going to ask you to say those little famous words that a lot of Alabama grads say, but I'm sure you're going to want to say it anyway.
Yes, roll tide, and thank you so much for having me.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Good luck in the 2021 Olympics. We're going to be pulling for you guys, and hope you have a great rest of your training, great performance, and we're looking forward to seeing how you guys do in 2021. Have a great day.
Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for listening to the All Me podcast from the Taylor Hooten Foundation, a nonprofit organization leading a national campaign to enlighten people to the truths about appearance and performance-enhancing substances, and inspiring people to live and compete without the use of these substances. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and tune in to our next episode.